Hello and welcome back to The Replacement Heroes. This will be the second episode and it's being hosted by myself, Sean, the Dungeon Master, and I have my lovely players with me as always. We have Kim.
I play Astiel.
I'm Sarah and I play Celise.
I'm Chance and I play Otis.
And there you are. Without further ado, we'll jump right into the second episode. So, where we left off was you guys absolutely fucking massacring the other would-be heroes. It was pretty one-sided, I gotta admit. Like, there was some pretty gnarly dice rolls and some awesome combinations, like spells going off, things like that. So you did really well there.
I ate someone.
And you ate two people.
Two people.
You ate
Sorry,
two people.
two
Well, no, sorry.
people.
You didn't eat two people.
Amon did.
Amon Gloroth ate two people,
Yeah.
which you're unaware of.
Amon's got Amon, you know?
Amon's got a Amon, yeah, right. You just woke up
Full.
with a weird taste in your mouth.
I don't need to eat for a while.
Tasted like leather and old sweat.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good. Not good.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting.
So, as you moved away from that crackling fire, highlighting just gore splashed through the quarry, leaving the great axe and the smear of combat behind, night is fully taken now. The blanket of indigos has set down across the valley floor. The starlight that twinkles endlessly above you is obscured in patches by drifting clouds, reflected off the top of the Spine Peak Mountains where the snow caps seem silver, very serene. Something large curls out of sight, blocking starlight as it moves with its shadow. Curling back around the top of the Spine Peaks, you can hear some kind of bird call screeches out in the distance. The chill begins to set in now that combat has passed and the adrenaline has ended. There's no pounding of your heart in your chest anymore, and the sweat caught between your skin and your armor is cold. Tired. Now you know you have to descend the mountain. What do you guys want to do?
Where are we at with time again? Like how, I know we had 6 hours before. Where are we at now with that?
So the whole fight took about 5 minutes.
Oh, really?
The whole fight. That all happened very quickly.
Badass. Awesome team.
So you've come down off the very top, like that carved, almost labyrinthine coliseum at the top there, and you're now back close to where the little mining shed was, where you sat and discussed about how Otis is useless, but suddenly not useless.
You and I still have to have a talk, Celise.
Yes.
You kind of step down into that small carved circle. You see that familiar leather tented section. You can have some of the Sour Patch Kids, it's okay. Knock yourself out, dude.
I think the music stopped.
It'll, yeah, it's just going into the second one, don't worry. There may be like a slight 1 or 2 second delay between songs. They're usually designed to kind of smooth in and out with each other. But yeah, you see that familiar leather flat tent with the small pots and pans inside, small table, a few chairs, the rickety stool. All the shadows are stretched long and everything is bathed in the silver moonlight. You can see twinkling, glimmering veins and shifting colour in the actual mountain rock now that it's under the moonlight, and it's quite pretty.
Is anyone else hurt? Just me? No, just me?
Yeah, it's just you.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you both are fighters.
Yeah.
Astiel
too.
is looking pretty roughed up. There's a couple of your straps have snapped and you know you're going to have to re-sew them.
I took a fucking axe to the back. A little
Dagger
fucker.
to the front.
The dagger to the front and axe to the back.
So there is a rent.
Little rough.
There is
There
a
was axes?
Yes. she turns around and shows the shattered armor.
You see
on
there
her
is a
back.
big rip in the raven feather cloak that she has, and beneath it you can see the leather kind of brigandine that she wears with metal plates sewn into it is just rent and ripped.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
A lot happened while I was asleep.
Hey, I didn't
say
hit you
so.
with an axe, alright?
I mean, I'm just
I can
reflecting.
mend the cape for you.
You're just flexing, is what you're doing. You're flexing on me, yeah?
Flexing. Weird flex, but okay. We need to get back down. We got a
Yes,
time limit.
I agree. We should go soon.
You're smiling again, Celise.
It's been a good night.
It has been a very good nap. I feel full.
I hope that I can learn from you, Astiel.
Oh. You too?
I have a feeling you and Otis might have things in common.
Yeah. We're gonna talk.
I don't understand what is happening.
Why don't we
That's
go
okay.
down?
We should go back down and meet back up with Ender.
You solidify your decision and you begin to move down the mountain. You're clutching that kind of hardened leather Behir helmet with the broken jaw on it. You expended quite a few spells. Was on the receiving end of a lot of combat that thankfully didn't break past your shield, but it's kind of... You're feeling it in your shoulders, the heavy set of your armor on your shoulders. You feel absolutely fucking fine. Like, you remember the kind of heart-pounding, Otis, of the initial start of combat, where the Dench jumped down onto Astiel, and you raised your crossbow, and then the next thing you remember, the battle is won, and you didn't have to do a thing.
You're like a fainting goat.
I'm
Things get a little actiony and you just go, whoop.
So as your two human companions...
Human.
You're human-ish. As they descend the mountain, you can see the kind of like the heavy set of their shoulders, and they're wearing probably between 30 to 40 pounds of armor and heavy gear on them. Basically just skipping the way down. I mean, you're perfectly fine.
Hey, do you think it is rude to ask the dwarf why he does not have a beard?
I don't think that would go over great.
Let's just wait until we get our license. And then you can think about it and make up stories.
I mean, he seems like a pretty nice guy.
Astiel just shakes her head, slowly limping down the mountain.
Do you want to go at an even pace, or do you want to try and make time? Like, do you want to get down there quickly?
Well, you never told us how much time we
Yeah,
had
you
left.
just said the battle took... Well, so... Wait. Notes. I did the thing.
It's been quite a few hours.
No,
I mean,
didn't.
do you know how long you took up there?
I didn't do the thing.
Ugh,
I think we took
It's been at least 4 hours.
3 hours to get there.
I definitely did do the things.
A best guess, because you couldn't really see the sun setting. It happens very quickly up here in the north. And with everything that was going on, it was night after the battle had ended. Whether it's the sun has just set, or it set a while ago and you just weren't paying attention, you don't know. At best guess, you could probably say you've been up here around 4-ish hours.
And the bulk of that was us trying to get up. So we should make time to get back, I would think.
Alright.
If you want to move at quicker than average pace, I need a survival check from all three of you.
Oh, god damn.
If I don't want to.
What is that plus?
It'll be plus your survival down in your skills section.
14. Fucker.
So 15.
15. Survival?
Mm-hmm.
It's 15.
16.
Okay. You'll make it down fairly rapidly. There's a moment there, Otis kind of loses his footing. It slips for a couple of steps, and there's that kind of heart-pounding intake of breath as the rocks just tumble down ahead of you, but you're fine. You're fine. Everybody's fine. You make your way down, and there is nobody in that caldera at the base of the mountain. There's nobody waiting for you.
Really?
Yeah. It's cold and windy and empty. You can see the lights of Edgemont, the town, twinkling as it goes down the the slopes of the foothills of the mountain and spreads towards the river.
I still would know where the trappers were, though, right?
Yeah. As you look down from this vantage point, you see the squat white stone fortress that the trappers call home, the Muster, on its squat low hill, craggy rocks around the base of it, and all trees have been cleared away in about a half-a-mile radius around it. It sits on its own, close to the riverbank of the clear glass. It kind of commands an entire view of the riverbank and the small valley here at the base of the mountain. That's where they live. You can see torchlight in the courtyard, and there are figures moving around the parapets. You can see activity in the town. It's a mining town. Everybody's closed up shop for the day, and you know for a fact that the inn will be pretty busy.
Should we not just go to trappers? I mean,
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna wait here. I'm gonna go find the trappers.
Okay. So you head down, you lead the way down into Edgemont?
Yes.
Okay. As you come down from the base of the mountain and you head down into Edgemont proper, it is a city built on plateaus that consecutively get lower and lower and lower until they reach the valley floor. You can see the high road cut down through the middle of the city, taking you from level to level to level, and you see it curving off in the distance, perpendicular with the curve of the riverbank, until it disappears into the heartwood. The town is functional, is honestly the best description for it. All of the buildings are heavy dark timbers and whitewashed stone. The only thing that is honestly impressive in the valley is the Muster. There is a central large town hall which is built entirely out of lumbered oak. Other than that, you can see the low, long, squat... I just need to grab the name of it real quick. The Hobgoblin's Route is the low kind of complex that compromises the tavern, stables, like a coach house, that you can rent a cab to take you from town to town. Or you can rent horses. This is where people this is the one most active part of the town. Yeah, they're pretty damn sour, right? From where you are coming down at the town, the Muster is off to the left. You step down through an entire quarry. There are large covered stones with oilcloth. All the tools are hidden under oilcloth to protect them from the weather, any rainfall that comes, and the actual cold itself. There's not really anybody around. You'll see a guard here and there. They'll kind of look you over once. Low, wide-brimmed helmets. They've got thick linen wrapping around the lower part of the face, big, thick furred mittens clutching a spear, and they have the big furred cloak over their shoulders. The tabard that they wear is two bears, one gold, one black, upside down. And that is the symbol of the House of Tanal, the ruling family here in the north.
how do you spell that?
Tanal. As you pass them, they just kind of keep an eye on the quarry. There's a small cooking pot on a small fire. One of them is ladling. There's some kind of broth. The one stood above him with the spear just kind of nods his head, kind of moving from foot to foot to try and keep warm, as there is nothing except cold, hard stone and working tools. There's nothing to keep these guys warm here. Move on past them and head down towards the muster proper. You come...
Where's Nolan?
Nolan? Where is Nolan? Where do you want Nolan to be? With you, curled around you, keeping you warm? Mm-hmm. So your strange, winged snake creature is curled around you, kind of huddled up under the half cloak that you've got, just keeping you warm, peering out slowly from beneath your furry chin, just captivated with everything that's going on around him. You come down onto the wide, flat base of the hill that the muster sits upon, and it's almost like the ground has been burned away completely around the fortress. Nothing grows there. And as you head up towards it, the slope seemed fair from a distance, but it's a pretty steep incline. Now that you're climbing up it, you know that this fortress is designed to tire anybody that's coming up towards it, especially after hiking down the mountain. It's a bit of a trudge up there. And you approach and those white heavy walls just loom up before you. There are two towers either side of these heavy wooden gates with studded iron like knobs inset at certain parts in the gate, reinforcements into the actual wood to defend against siege. Either side of them is those two towers, and sat on the tops are large wooden structures that look like ballista, and they have oilcloth kind of thrown over them to protect them from the elements. There is a burning brazier outside that is casting light in a very small area around the front here, so the fire cracking to itself, and you hear the scrape of metal on stone from above you.
Why is everyone looking at me?
Do you go in? Just knock on the
Oh, the gates are closed. What's your
Hello.
business?
We are the ones that came down from the mountain. But no one was there to greet us, which is very rude, I would like to add.
We need to see Endrin, please.
Just this voice from above you. Look up! And there is a crossbow aimed down over the edge. And there is this craggy, dwarven brow, bald head, big, thick, heavy beard, kind of jutting over the top of the crossbow. And he's just like, yeah, you look about right. Open the gate!
I like your beard.
Just kind of looks at Otis weirdly for a second, and then just kind of ducks down behind the parapet, and you hear ka-chunk, juk, 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 juk of heavy chains on a winch, and the gate just before you. And it reveals a very small barbican, probably about 20 feet by 20 feet, to a secondary gate. All the dirt in here is churned. You can see parts of it are starting to freeze over into little ice patches. It's just sheer walls on either side. You can see arrow slits, little murder holes on both walls, and two large iron cauldrons set on levers that you assume will pour boiling hot oil on anybody that they don't want getting in these gates. And the second set of gates, chunk, swing inwards. And there is a tall half-orc woman, hair scraped back into a top knot, shaved sides of her head, very serious look on her face. Her jutting teeth, her tusks that come up from her bottom lip, have been capped. She has actively kind of ground them down to flat points. She kind of looks you over once.
Hello.
I'm Thurstra. I didn't think it would be you coming down from the mountain, so I lost money on you. But good job, well done. If you want to step inside, head up to the common hall. They're waiting.
It's because I am cute and cuddly, is it not?
Yeah, they're waiting. You can close the gates. You hear chuk, 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 and everything closes up behind you. You can see a wide, stretching courtyard in front of you. About 50 to 60 feet ahead of you, there is a large, squat, central stone well with a little sloped cap on the top of it to prevent anything going down into the well. Off to the left-hand side is a training stud of low wooden posts roped together. There are like training busts in there. It's kind of like an old dented suit of armor on a wooden T-frame. There's a couple of like discarded bow staffs and other things, equipment just laying around there. Doesn't seem to be anybody training there. It's getting into the chill of night. Behind that you see a low squat stables. There are a couple of wagons. You can hear horses whinnying and kind of snorting into the night.
I pet the horse.
Astiel goes the 100 feet off to the stable. You can see this low curl of black smoke coming up from behind the stables. You can hear ting, 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 just ringing out lowly into the yard. You can see every now and again there is a flare of firelight from behind the stables. It appears there is some kind of blacksmith on site back there. The walls sit at about 40 feet high, and you can see at certain points there are wooden staircases built up towards this flat top before it hits the parapet, which is the stone rim that they can fire down over, but people can't easily get up into. There are 3 towers that you can see on the opposite side, the 2 behind you, 1 directly opposite, and then 2 on the furthest corners to the left and the right. Each tower has those covered wooden ballista, except the one directly opposite you is taller than the rest. It has a slightly steepled roof and no stone on the very top floor. It's just wooden posts holding up this flat top. Kind of looks like an observation platform. Off to the right hand side is a couple of low squat buildings. One has a very heavy steel door. The one next to it is a long low wooden barn with a rolling wooden door that you can see a winch on the outside. It's designed when it's pulled, it just slides the wall of the barn back. There are lots of low heavy crates covered in oilcloth. There's a cluster of small humanoids around a large open fire pit there. You can hear them all laughing and kind of murmuring amongst themselves. You don't really understand the language. It doesn't carry too well on the wind. But they seem to be enjoying themselves. They're passing some small flask between them as they're doing whatever they are around this firelight. And then at the very back of the compound, where Thurster gestured towards, is a heavy set sandstone building with large red doors, and one of them is slightly ajar. There are 2 guards stood either side of the doors.
Hello, friends.
As you go up, there is a human male, big blonde beard, again, kind of a hooked spear in his hands, those thick heavy mitts. He's got like a bearskin hat on his head. It just kind of gives you this toothy grin. He's missing 3 teeth up the top row. He's like, go in, it's warm in there, it's cold out here.
And
You head on in.
respectfully to him, head on in.
The other guard is just this dour-faced half-orc, just kind of long, low, thin moustache that just kind of hangs down over his scarf. He's got a crossbow sat in his hands. He just kind of gives you a nod back. But the human's like, yeah, good job. yeah. You head in. And he pulls the door closed behind you. And there is just a big roaring fireplace. The warmth instantly hits you. It's like a punch in the face. And you suddenly realize how cold it really was getting outside. There is a long, low wooden bar across the other side. It's filled with empty plates and tankards. There's scraps of meats and cheeses, carcasses, fruit stems. It seems that the day has already ended. Here, there is a couple of figures sat around. On a table closest to the fireplace are 3 figures. There is a large, brutish half-orc. He's completely hairless except for a very, very tight scalp lock ponytail at the very top of his head, and is curled up with leather binding, and it seems to be dyed red with some kind of clay. No weapons, barely any clothing. He just has kind of like a short pair of breeches on with a leather wrapping of fur and kind of bones and teeth that's around his waist. Just kind of covers his decent parts. And he is just muscle and scar tissue. And the scars, you can see nicks and tooth marks and blade marks, but across his arms and all down the sides of his face are raised blue scars. And they're just in little tally marks. And he is covered in them. Sat next to him with her feet up on the table, cleaning her fingernails with a dagger, is a very short halfling woman, skinny almost to the point of malnutrition. Very kind of dark beetle black eyes, and she's just kind of watching everything from underneath the rim of her little leather cap. Sat with them. It's a very slight elven man, long, thinning, platinum blonde hair, large wolf fur cloak over his shoulders, and he's holding a steaming mug of something hot. On one hand, he's missing 2 fingers, and he only has half a thumb. All the skin is pockmarked and twisted in scar tissue, and up the side of the left-hand side of his face, it's all twisted, cracked skin. He's missing his ear. The nose is kind of blocked in on one side, so it follows the shape of his skull. The lips are peeled back. He has no eyebrow on that side, and the hair is kind of receded back. It's very nasty scarring from obvious frostbite. Frostbite.
Jeez.
Yeah, like this guy didn't have a good time at some point. The other denizens of this low bar is a small halfling woman. She's behind the bar. She's beginning to clean up. She's got a redhead barmaid and a young elven man helping her kind of start resetting the tables and cleaning everything. And there is the dark-skinned man that led you up to the caldera. He just kind of looks...
I go over to him.
Gives a low smile as you approach. I never had a doubt.
You are from the same place I am, aren't you? Or close.
Little bit north, I think.
Yeah.
Akathay. You know that Akathay is a shining city of magic upon the Lost Coast. It is the one defining city in the whole Border of Bones, which the Crownland are at war with. Akathania is at war with Crownland of Samacia. It has been for centuries at this point. So seeing an Akathanian kind of this far north, it's a little weird. You see a lot of them around the Lost Coast, especially in Paylor's Landing. But this far north, towards the edge of the world, he's as strange as you are. You know, a walking cat.
What are you doing here?
Enjoying my best years of my life.
Did you get his name?
No, he never offered it.
What's your name?
My name is Suresh Al-Rahit, and I'm charmed to meet you. What is your name?
You're going to have to...
Stands about a head shorter than you.
Astiel.
Astiel, that's an interesting name. You native?
Yes.
And you?
Celise from the Lost Coast.
It's so strange to see people from my part of the world so far north. Well, this is interesting. You must feel like an outsider in your own home. How strange for you.
Yes. It's been a strange sort of a day. Can we see Endrin?
Yes, of course. Follow me. And he just kind of scoops up his large tankard, takes a swig from it. This way, this way. And he leads you off to the right-hand
shake
side.
my fur because he didn't ask mine. Nolan also is considering going over and biting his toe.
He doesn't pay any attention. He doesn't even notice that you're bristling behind him. He's just kind of like sashaying down the hallway in front of you. Little wobbly. He's probably been drinking for the whole time you were up the mountain. And he leads you down this wide stone hallway. There is no windows, just sconces on the walls casting flickering light. You see embers kind of fall and twist from the sconces, but it never really reaches the ground. It just kind of seems to fade out from existence before it touches the stonework. And there's no blackened like smoke staining that you would expect from being in like open fires inside on stonework and stuff like that. It's all very clean in here, very clean. On the left-hand side is 4 wooden doors. No marking, no insignia, just iron pull handles on them. And there was a red door at the very end of the hallway. He goes up, enter it. Knocks once on the door. Clicks it open. Nods. Carries on walking back down the hallway.
You can find him later.
Before you is Endrin Tallheart. His close-cropped red hair, beardless face, twinkling green eyes behind those little spectacles. And he's just sat behind a large, low desk. There's a bunch of different writing utensils in front of him, a coin pouch, a small little lockbox. There's a little kind of bronze chalice. Looks kind of too small to really be a useful item to drink from, but it's just sat on the tabletop. You can see heads of various different creatures mounted on the walls. There is a recognizable troll head, a hobgoblin. There's some strange dark-furred beast, slack-jawed, 4 sets of tusks and 8 kind of preserved eyes. Where the eyes would sit, there's like yellow gems in there. Totally, you've never seen anything like it before. It's incredibly exotic. And there is a large great sword in its sheath, just rested up against the side of the fireplace that roars behind him. There are books lining the walls, big red leather wingback chair, low cot in the corner, small modest chest behind it. The room is modest. Other than the trophies on the wall and his greatsword, there's nothing really that kind of stands out that he is, the commander of a very famous mercenary guild. He just kind of looks up.
I step inside.
Close the door behind you.
Celeste closes the door and places a hand on Otis's shoulder, squeezes a little and sets it back down.
Takes his little spectacles off the bridge of his nose, and you can see where they've begun to rub a red mark into the pale white kind of broken nose that he has. He rubs it for a second, folds the little golden spectacles, puts them down on the table in front of him. Well, you're exactly who I expected to come down off the mountain.
Astiel kind of has a little surprised look on her face, not totally perceptible, but just a raise of her brows.
Well done. This is for you. And he slides the little bronze chalice. It's dinged, it's bent, there's, scuff marks on it, it's losing colour in places. He slides it across the table. This is the mark of a trapper. Only one of you can carry it.
Astiel watches as the cat's hair.
And he's just looking at these little paws, just kind of reaching up for it. Whoever carries it is responsible for all 3 of you.
Celeste grabs the chalice.
It's how you keep in contact with us. Once a day, you can send a message through the chalice, and we can send one back. How was it?
Astiel pushes back her cloak, takes out the Bahir mask, gently sets it at the edge of the desk, as well as the iron ring next to it. They fought well.
Kind of just nods quietly, looks at the helmet, picks it up, turns, puts it back down, touches the iron ring very, very kind of gently with his fingertip, just taps it slightly. Well, that's good. That's good. Well, to the victors go the spoils. And he pulls up 3 coin pouches from out of this lockbox that's in front of him. He clicks it open, and he drops one, kind of tosses one onto the desk in front of Astiel, tosses one on the desk in front of Celeste, and he tosses one towards Otis. There's a fair weight to it.
Jingles it really rapidly.
Otis grabs it, shakes it. It's a fair weight to it. If you open the coin purses, there is 25 gold pieces in there.
Take it.
Which, to be fair, it's a pretty fair sum.
I did not know we were getting paid for this.
Thank you.
There's no need to thank me, you earned it. as he rummages around in a desk for a pen. Nah, you keep that one. You keep that one. Out of the same chest, he pulls a small scroll. It is sealed with red wax in the shape of a wolf's head. And he places it down on the desk. Pulls his hand back. This, if any of you need it, is a arcane license from the Royal Collegiate of Mages. I assume you're practitioners of the weave? You obviously do not need it, because you are a cleric of Pelor. Your magic is divine, and I assume you have something to do with the Raven Queen. That leaves you.
Take the scroll, Otis.
Taking that, we've paid the dues for that license. Don't fuck up, boy. You're representing us when you're out there.
And Astiel's just staring at him, remembering what happened out there.
Celeste is having a moment of relief that what she had fought for has finally been accomplished and he is safe once more.
So,
Well, welcome to the Trappers Guild. Now go away. It's late and I need some sleep. In the morning, you'll find Havoc around here somewhere. He will be in charge of handling all of your needs, your day-to-days. You can see Ultran for any training you may need. Weapons, provisions, armor needs to be taken care of. You can go and see Copper Dank and his boys. Very hard to miss. You'll know what I mean. Other than that, you'll rarely need to see me unless I need to see you. So, welcome to the guild. Again, it is an honor and a pleasure to have you. But you should also understand that it is a very respectable thing you are a part of now. Act like it. You'll be very well compensated and rewarded. It's a heavy time of year with the snows beginning to set in and the harvest coming, so expect lots of work. Always happens this time of year, right before the crest, the equinox. So, there's good coin to be made. So whenever you're ready, go find Herrick. Get a good night's rest. Other side of the bar, past Matron Zana's quarters, there's a common room. There may be some beds. I don't know if who's actually frequenting with us this time around. There are 5 divisions within the guild. You are the newly minted Division 5. It's been empty for a while. 50 years. We haven't had it filled. So you're stepping into the shoes of legacy. There are some people alive that remember Division 5. So don't be surprised if a few people raise eyebrows and...
what happened?
Oh, they died to a man.
To a man?
Hmm.
What kind of man?
Oh no, it's a figure of speech. They all got fucking killed.
Oh yeah. But how?
They were lost north of the river. No one really knows. They were scryed upon. We looked for them. There was no remains to speak with. They just vanished.
Celeste casts a glance at Otis and looks away.
And Astiel's just looking at Celeste. You still need to talk.
So, anyway, go on, off with you.
Astiel gives a respectful bow, turns, walks out.
Celeste waits for Otis to leave,
So when
grabbing him and having them exit.
Endron's just kind of looking at you expectantly, waiting for you to finish whatever you were going to say. You can obviously see the frustration beginning to build around his eyes. You get the sense that this isn't a man that's used to being ignored when he asks people to leave.
I will just ask later. It is fine.
Door. Do you close the doors behind you?
Yes.
Yeah, you close the door behind you, it kind of clicks firmly into place, and there's just that hallway before you. You can see the fire roaring in the common room ahead.
Otis, why don't you go find a bed?
But I don't want to.
Then sit at the bar and talk with your friend.
What friend?
What was his name? Suresh?
Suresh.
Where is he?
You assume back in the common area, he like dusted the second you got to the door. He was like, bye.
And that's
I
when
guess.
Ersinon takes off her raven's feathers cloak. Groans a little bit. Pretty sore. Pretty painful.
What does her armor look like underneath the cloak?
Very armory.
I was gonna say, thanks for flipping me the bird.
You know, like armor.
Is it armor colored?
It's not super heavy duty
Okay.
armor. It is a mix of leathers and... What is armor made of? Okay. I don't know. What is armor?
Okay, yeah, her armor would probably be, again, like a leather coat with steel plates sewn into the inside of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Otis kind of wanders off, his tail swishing back and forth.
A little catkin leaves you, his tail just kind of brushing the ground behind him. And then you are left in the hallway.
What the fuck?
As you step into the common room, you hear very pointedly Astiel go, what the fuck?
You okay back
We're
there?
fine.
Okay.
You get the hint.
I'll just be over here, I guess.
What was that?
It has never spoken to me, but I think I know it protects Otis.
Clearly, it ate 2 people. Does he know about it? He doesn't seem to know about it.
No. Shortly after I encountered it a few times was when Nolan appeared, and so I figured it was more of a friend than anything.
It didn't seem very friendly.
As long as you don't attack it.
Okay. Are you not telling him? Why haven't you told him?
In the year since you travelled up from the Lost Coast, you've seen it maybe twice. This is honestly the 3rd time.
It doesn't affect any other part of his life, except for then unless it senses he's in danger. And I have no idea how to bring this up on what it is. But you seem to harbor something similar.
Okay, this isn't about me.
No, but this is a great find. You can help Otis discover whatever this is and make peace.
I didn't say that I was gonna take on babysitting him. He's your responsibility.
Of course. Just if he ever has questions.
We'll have the talk. You might notice that you have an interdimensional space being living inside of you. You might notice tentacles where there were no tentacles before.
Your voice will sound a little different. You'll start to notice boys and girls and other things that other people might not see.
There'll be otherworldly celestial light pouring out of you. What I have is a very different thing than what he has. It is not the same. I don't know what that is.
Well, I've never encountered one like you or one like him either until I met either of you. So perhaps it's not such a bad thing.
Well, no, it did help us. Technically, I don't think it cared about helping us, but it helped us. proves to be a danger. And she just kind of lets that sentence trail off.
Silly smiles.
Very uneasy smile.
In the bar, it appears that the three members that were over by the fireplace, the frostbitten elf, the large bulging orc, and the skinny halfling woman, they've vacated and just left their table. There's an overturned tankard that's just dripping onto the floor and a plate full of old meats and cold cheeses. The red-headed bar mage is kind of beginning to tidy up that area, push the chairs in. The elven male is over kind of stoking the fire, adding a new log, turning the coals. Doesn't seem to be anybody else in the bar. You can hear the low murmured voices of your compatriots down the end of the hallway. It's not a large building. You can't quite make out unless you want to try and listen in with your slightly above average senses for being a cat. It's up to you.
Otis kind of walks over to the fire and just kind of kneels down. Elvin curls down and tries to get as close as possible.
The elven male just kind of looks up. He's a younger man, probably early 20s kind of appearance. Otis doesn't really know much about elves. There isn't too many of them in the south, especially not on Xanthan itself. They're more on the main continent. And they're kind of just nomadic desert-dwelling tribes that nobody really has much interaction with. And he kind of looks up and goes, "Oh, sorry, sir. I didn't know that you were going to be using this space. Let me get out of your way. Can I get you anything?"
No. You are an elf, no?
I am, and you're a cat,
Yes.
man.
You are not wrong.
Where do you come from? If you don't mind me asking, I mean, not to be bold, but you're a cat. The only cats around here are cats.
Guess I like those too.
He just kind of seems like, almost like a kid that just wants to ask you a million questions but doesn't want to impose.
I come from a much hotter place than this. There are dinosaurs there.
A what?
A dinosaur.
What's a dinosaur?
These giant lizard that can eat you.
Oh, we have those. They live in the swamp.
No, these ones are huge. Building size. Bigger.
No, we don't have those. And you see, like, his eyes kind of go wide. You hear the woman kind of just like, you almost hear her roll her eyes, and she's like, "He's fucking with you, dear."
No, they are there.
Uh-huh.
No.
And pigs fly. What? They might, where you come from, because I mean, cats walk and talk. She kind of scoops up a tray of empty tankards and walks away. She's like, "Come on, you've got chores to do." He's, "Yes, mother." He stands up and he follows her. And you're alone in front of this roaring fire. Feels good. Feels real good.
I'd fall asleep right there.
As you two head into the common area, Otis is asleep. Are you curled up in front of the fire?
Yes.
Curled up in front of the fireplace with
Purring.
a Nolan curled up in the crook of his arm, and you can hear the low every time he exhales in his sleep. And it's really weird. It's really, really weird. He's a man cat and it's purring in its sleep. You're used to barn cats and stray cats.
Right. And Astiel does like cats, but this is just weird. And she's tired and in some pain. So I'm gonna go to the bar, I think.
Yeah, as you head up towards the bar, there is the red-headed barmaid behind, and she seems to be in the process of washing tankards and plates in a cold stone basin. sudsy water in there, and she's handing them to the young elven man, and he's drying things off and putting it on a drying rack. They've got their backs turned to you.
Excuse me.
He kind of looks over his shoulder. So, yes, how can I help?
Do you have anything to drink?
Yes, what would you like?
A drink?
And he's kind of like looking at you, and then the woman just, oh, Eric, just get her a fucking beer. And he goes, right, yes, the house brown it is. And he moves over and he grabs one of the freshly cleaned tankards, and you see him dump it into this open-topped barrel. And there's what he hands you, it's almost like brown water.
How much is that?
Oh no, it's on the house. It's the house ale. You can drink as much of it as you want. It's not very strong. It tastes like shit, but it's free and it'll warm you up. If you want anything stronger or different, that's going to cost you.
And Astiel just kind of sniffs it and then sets it down. Thanks, but I'll take stronger.
Okay, we have wines, we have wheat beers, we have stronger ales than this. There are some unkeg venom from the south. We got given that in trade for completion of some work a while back. It's pretty potent stuff. Yeah, the Division 2, they like to set their mouths on fire with it and see who can kind of not burn to death.
Just a wheat beer.
Okay, two coppers, please.
And she reaches into her coin purse and pulls out 2 coppers and then looks to Celise, remembering that really awesome spell that she cast that kind of saved my butt. So, what do you want? Something? My treat.
I'll have what you're having. Sully sits down and tries to make a note never to allow Otis near the fire alcohol.
Puts down 4 coppers, slides them over.
Okay, go ahead and mark off 4 coppers on your sheet. And he pours out the house brown back into the barrel from the tankard, wipes it out with a cloth, snatches up another tankard, moves over to Oh, okay. So I just got handed 4 Skittles. So this is the copper, yeah?
Yes.
All right, cool. I'm fine with this. You can pay me in Skittles. That's cool. He takes the 2 tankards and he goes over to a tapped barrel, small little boar's head, like a hog's head. Pours 2 wheat beers, hands them over to you. Snatches up the copper.
I take mine and gingerly sit down.
Yeah, there's about 10 low, kind of stained wooden tables in here. There's a smattering of stools and low benches, and then there's like high wing-back leather chairs. It's all a mishmash of furniture. There's like swords and axes and shields, all purely ceremonial or old, and just not really good for weapons anymore. All like hung up on the walls, and there's wood carvings, things like that.
So I start drinking my drink. I'm not really facing Celise. I'm not really looking at her so much, but I'm still talking to her because I'm kind of awkward.
Okay.
But, so, did you guys just come up here for the magic license then?
Here specifically, yes. To the north, we came because it was dangerous.
More dangerous than where you... Wait, what? Where?
We come from the south.
I assume from his accent.
It's its own terrors there, and they were specifically targeted at Otis.
Kind of thought people don't really come to the north to vacation, so usually they're fleeing somewhere.
Yes. Why did you join?
I joined so that I'd have something to do. Put myself to use. That's a long story.
It does not sound long.
This little voice just drifts up from the fireplace.
Astiel startles and like turns around. Holy Jesus.
You get used to it. He's a very light sleeper.
Does he have a bell?
I've tried. He takes it off.
Maybe I will get one of those piercings, like the
No.
Minotaur.
The little bell on it.
They were trying to kill me and take my pelt.
Take your pelt. And Astiel's a little confused just because it's not
Or
really
put me into slavery, I mean.
a thing that happens here. But also she's never met one of his kind before, so.
So it's trapping is a big part of life up here. I mean, animals will be trapped and killed for their pelts and all that sort of stuff, but a living sentient
Right, that's what I was
creature
thinking,
killed for its
is
pelt.
He's sentient. He's clearly not just an animal.
We are the native people where I am from. We're not treated very nicely.
Well, who is trying to take your pelt?
People that
Wanted my pelt.
people that want to sell it. The same people that would trap Bunny or whatever you have up here would do the same to me down where I am from. Or slavery.
And in Astiel's head, all she's thinking is there's no way they could possibly do that with what she saw down in the quarry. But she's not going to say anything because clearly there's a confidence here.
I am in a normal color too. We are not normally like this.
Okay. What are you? Would I know?
No. You've seen some weird creatures that live up here. I mean, you've seen hobgoblins. There are a few fringe elements of hobgoblin society that live down among the people of the valley. They're usually outcasts because by nature the hobgoblins are a very vicious people towards the valley dwellers, considering the empire, like the Crown Land, destroyed their empire and drove them up into the mountains like a couple of hundred years ago. So there's a lot of racial animosity there. And they're kind of average humanoid height, and they have like these flat, squat, baboon-like noses, jutting teeth, and brown fur. But that's honestly the most bestial humanoid thing that lives up here. That isn't a wild animal or a monster that dwells in the forest. He is wholly unique.
I am what you call a tabaxi.
Well, Tabaxi. Otis. It's nice to meet you.
Are you hungry, Otis?
I am still full. I do not know
Astiel just looks into her
why.
beard. Takes a really deep drink.
It's quite sweet. They soften the brewing process with honey. So it's quite nice.
Drinks her cup.
It's warming, especially sat by the fire. You're getting that kind of soft numbness across the cheeks and nose.
I'm more worried about the axe wounds in my chest and back.
The healing magic that Celise touched you with up on the mountain seems to have
Wait, what?
healed them. You did cast.
You did heal
You did
before.
heal me some.
Yeah.
I'm still pretty hurt though.
You did like a
That's how I
healing
did
word
all
or something
my-
like that.
I'm still like,
There's probably going to be somebody that shouts at me, "She did this spell at this time at this exact moment." But it's cool. They can keep track of it. I got more than enough to worry about. But yeah, it's healed up for the most part, but it's sore. Like, you can still feel the bruising, and there's kind of like a knot forming in your shoulder muscles. The ache is really beginning to set in. You know that you're going to hurt in the morning.
on that note.
Did they not
asleep.
say that we had, they have, what you call, healing thing people that they pay for trappers?
What?
There were healers.
Oh.
Maybe asleep by now, but who knows? Anyway, I'm going back to my fire.
You shouldn't sleep on the floor.
Why? It is no different than the jungle.
You just hear, "It's okay, we'll sweep around him."
Go to bed.
You haven't even checked to see if there are beds.
Celise downed her drink and then got up to go check for beds.
And the chair creaks out behind you across the stone, and heavy armored footfalls move away from the fireplace, and there is two doors, one directly ahead of you, one to the right, and one on the right has a very intricate kind of flower motif carved around the door frame, and there's like little kind of songbird feathers just hung in almost like a curtain in front of the doorway. You probably guess that isn't the common sleeping area. The door that's in front of you is just slightly ajar, and the room beyond is dark.
Celise opens the door.
Yeah, you push the door open, you can hear snoring from a few different places. Shut the fucking door! As light kind of floods in, you can see there are about 10 cots, storage chests at the base of each one. Again, windowless, no flickering sconces. They're all doused, and there are several figures. There's about 6 of the beds are taken up. The voice just emanates from somewhere in the room.
Celise closes the door. There are beds.
Are there any chairs by the fire?
Yeah, there's the big kind of plush, cracked leather wingback that the elf was sat in. And then there's like a smattering of hard wooden chairs, stools, things like that. This seems to be the nicest chair in the establishment.
I'm gonna go sit in the wing back.
It's very similar to the one that Endrin was sat in behind his desk.
I'm gonna go sit in that, curl up by the fire.
You sink into it, and the cushion beneath your buttocks is supple on the sides. It's still like quite bouncy and firm, but it's obvious the elf has worn a groove into the middle of it, and you kind of sink slightly in to the middle of it. It's a little uncomfortable, but you kind of like spread your bulk out into the chair, rest your arms onto the heavy curling padded arms, and suddenly you're very tired.
I'm going to sleep by the fire.
I just want to sleep with a bunch of people, so
You just
I'm just gonna use my cloak as a blanket and
Yeah.
curl up by the fire.
whip your cloak up
I've
around
slept
you,
worse.
lay your head back against the wing back, close your eyes. The fire is just licking at you. It's just warm, it's nice, and there is the low it starts up again in front of the fireplace.
Celise also sleeps by the fire since might as well.
Everyone's like, why are they sleeping by the fire? There's beds.
Sleep comes pretty easy from the events of the day. Otis, you, as always, completely dreamless sleep. You awake feeling refreshed. Sunlight kind of fills the room from the open doorway. Being this close to the fire, which is still kind of burning at a respectable height, it's combating whatever cold may be creeping into this common area. Or there may be some kind of enchantment, because you really can't feel the wind, the breeze, and you can see snowdrift pushing in to where the common room doors are open.
This is my kind of place.
Astiel, your dreams are vivid. They're wild. It's whenever you go through the experience of the shroud, it always leaves you with disturbed sleep afterwards. However, the usual tolling of bells and vast black and blue fields of gravestones and spectres is intercut with beams of starlight and writhing pale milky white tentacles that kind of feel like they grasp at the back of your mind, and your body's rested, but you definitely experienced something yesterday that is going to stick with you for life. For Celise, you've done things in your life that you're proud of and that you're not proud of. Being a godly woman, at least trying to be at all times, can sometimes conflict with the joy that does creep up when you're in the thick of it. Nothing really sticks in your mind except the helplessness in the man's eyes after you used the magic of Paylor to hold him in place. And then you watched him get devoured by whatever it is that resides within Otis. However you feel about that is how Celise is going to feel about that. But there is that definite niggling feeling in the back of your mind that, was that the right thing to do? As you crack your eyes open, there is the small halfling woman, tight grey bun at the back of her head. She stood up on a low stool. It's almost like two steps that she will get up, she'll clean a part of the bar, she'll step down, pick up the stool, move it, step up onto it, clean another part of the bar, step down, pick up the stool, move it, step up. And she seems to be going about her business. She's shouting in the very quick, rolling speech of halfling to the elven boy and the red-headed barmaid. They seem to have got some sleep at some point and they're back at it. And they all just seem to be talking this very quick gibberish backwards and forwards between each other. And you can see the woman she's cooking up eggs and sausages, strips of bacon, sides of chicken. The boy's like cutting meats and breads and stuff like that. There are the shuffling of feet, and you can see Suresh comes out from the common area. He's in a very loose-fitting white tunic and kind of brown breeches, no shoes on, hair is a mess, kind of dry drool against the edge of his very, very trim goatee, very bleary-eyed, just kind of shuffles in. He's like, beer, I need the beer. Goes up to the counter, just rests his head on the bar top while they get intended.
Otis shakes his tambourine.
As the emanates.
Shaking his ass deal up even more.
You wake with a start, and it's like almost like your body's like, right, fucking let's do this.
Celise grabs the tambourine and she sits setting it down next to Nolan to curl around.
You hear a footstep, and then a thunk, and a footstep, and a thunk, and a footstep, and a thunk of something wooden against stone. And coming out from the common area is quite a tall, half-elvish man, about 6 feet, long blonde hair, kind of curled back up against the back of his head in a tight braid. Very plain looking, slightly broken nose, missing a leg. The left leg from the knee down is completely gone. The trousers, the pant leg kind of tied up underneath it, and he's using a wooden crutch, and he just moves past you. Good morning. I'll see you soon. Carries on moving, heads down towards the row of wooden doors before Endron's office, opens the middle one and steps in.
Otis chases Wait, how did you lose your leg?
You see Otis dart up and runs after this half-elven gentleman.
Takes a look and gets up quickly, throws her cloak back on, follows him to try and see where this is going to go. Stop. What is going to happen?
Celise looks longingly at breakfast before going and following.
As you two get up and there's that, oh fuck, he really just asked that moment. You head down the hallway and you come around the corner as Otis is stood there, kind of tail like very alert and bushy behind him, as the half-elven man is laughing and easing himself down into a padded chair behind a desk. There is lockboxes on one side, an assortment of scrolls, coin perch, Very, very similar to how Endrin's desk is. The only difference is there is a lot more kind of detritus and kind of clerical items. You see a small abacus, things like that. And he sits down and he laughs and goes, well, there are these things called gnolls, and they didn't like me very much, so one of them took my leg and ate it in front of me. Then I killed him. Yeah, that's basically it.
That is good story.
Yeah, right? It's been a while. I'm okay with it. I'm saving my money, and I'm going to go to the temple, and I'm going to get a restoration spell, and they're going to magic my leg back. So, it'll come back in time.
What were you doing when you ran into this gnoll thing?
Oh, doing what you will be doing.
That does not bode well.
Yeah. Me, Endrin, and Ultran, we were out doing it was early days. We were doing a contract, and it went a bit south. I got cocky, too full of myself, decided to leave them old farts behind, and, well, let's say, hubris. I learnt a very, very valuable lesson that day, and it cost me a leg, but not an arm and a leg.
Do not look the raptor in the teeth.
I don't know what a raptor is, but I certainly looked a gnoll in the teeth, and I found out the hard way. And he kind of looks up and sees these two looming, like, night and day different, brutish women in his doorway, and he's like,
these are my friends.
what great friends you have. You're going to do really well here. So, welcome in. Come into my office. Please close the door behind you.
I'll step in. Astiel shuts the door behind them.
As you close the door, there is almost like this of wind, and you can't hear anything from the other side of the door. Even though people were walking up and down outside, you could see clerks kind of moving with bundles of arms, papers. And there was one kind of knocking on Endrin's door and opening it and bringing in breakfast, all that sort of stuff. But you can't hear a damn thing. It's almost as if the room is incredibly quiet. It's like silenced almost.
Did he have a beard then?
Sorry, say that again?
Did he have a beard?
Who?
Who do you think?
Oh, Endrin?
Yeah.
No, he's never... all the time I've known him, he's never had a beard.
That is so weird.
Otis.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, dwarves only shave their beards off for great shame. So, something must have happened. He hasn't divulged it to me. I don't suppose he will.
Somebody would not let me ask.
Oh, it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, I know, but I want to know.
I mean, you always could. Let me know what he says. Anyway. This is the contracting room. The guild is responsible for operating and maintaining the trackways through the Heartwood. That is what we were founded upon. We are trappers. We are hunters. Somewhere along the way, Endrin decided to turn us into mercenaries, because we got so good at our job that people started asking us for help. So we started asking for money. It's a good relationship. It works out for everybody involved. People the world over contract us and other mercenary guilds like us in other parts of the continent to do things they either don't have the time to do, they're not strong enough to do, or would rather not do. You come at a very auspicious time. The equinox is coming. Winter will be setting in. So it means there's lots of work to do. And there's lots of things that people need done. I've got a lot on my plate right now. And I'm hoping you can relieve me of some of this.
Does winter not happen a lot here or something?
No, winter sets in every year. But sometimes it's mild, sometimes it's not. Usually lasts about 4 or 5 months. Sometimes it can last a year or two.
What? That is ridiculous. Where have you brought me?
Like I said, it happens every year, but the severity of it, sometimes it can last years.
I'm not built for the cold.
You have a fur coat. You're built better than most.
It's
I'm
alright,
from the
Otis.
jungle.
Survive.
You'll probably fare better than these two.
Where is the healers?
What healers?
Oh, we have none.
That's fine.
If you need healing, if you have no healing skill yourself, you can always see Copper Dank over in the... You'll find out what he does, but his official title is Master of Items. Basically, if you need something, go see him. He may have some potions, or if you need healing and you have the coin, you can always go to the temples. Either in Tannelheim, there is a small shrine here in Edgemont. They could probably do some modest healing for you, but it's a small shrine, like I said. It'll probably cost you a fair amount of silver.
Off record, was that sleep that we took a long sleep?
Yeah. So
we're healed up.
you're back at 4 hit points.
I'm healed up.
Yeah.
Okay. And spell slots are...
Yeah, all your spell slots, all your skills, all your mechanics are reset. And just for clarification, in 5th edition, short rests are an hour, long rests are 8 hours. I am going to switch that up on its head, and I'm going to say that short rests are about 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes, and long rests are about 6 hours. Just because in base rules, if you're going to take an hour, you might as well take the fucking 8 and just do the full long rest. It's kind of, it gets pointless at that point, you know. So that's the way we're going to do it. Everything that comes back on a short rest, it's 15-20 minutes. It's kind of like taking a breather, because there's no reason why you shouldn't feel invigorated after resting for 10 to 20 minutes after any extraneous activity. But again, in this day and age, 6 hours of sleep is as long as you're getting. So life on the frontier is rough. But yeah, you're all back at full hit points, full healing, all the spell slots and abilities are back.
Right, so you have jobs?
I have jobs. Whether you want to pursue them now is entirely up to you. They will be waiting regardless. However, the choice jobs will always get hoovered up by other divisions if you wait too long. You'll find that if days and days and days go by, some people will do a couple of contracts and they'll wait a week, they'll wait a month, then they'll pick up more contracts. There might only be guard work, escort work left. Sometimes the mining corporations will hire us out as just extra muscle to help haul ore down from the mountains, especially if any of their workers are out sick or have other things going on. But right now, there's a lot of interesting stuff on my table. You can take a few days if you want, or you can take a contract. It's entirely up to you. Contracts usually do come with time limits. There are very few that are open-ended. People are paying us good money to see things done.
What are some
Can we know what they are before we decide?
Absolutely. Because right now, currently, unclaimed, I have 4.
What time?
And he pulls up the sheafs of papers in front of him. Let me just pull this up real quick.
On his smartphone.
On his smartphone, right?
his smart scroll?
His smart scroll. Yeah, you see him pick up like this,
It's a nice scroll.
rigid leather scroll, and he just flicks his hand on it. All the words start magically moving. The first one I've got here is from the town itself, from Edgemont. There is an ore supply that has been bought from Bleakwater. They've purchased it. It needs to be escorted from here through the wood. There is a one-day layover in Tannelheim for restock and supply on horses, and then you'll move on to the docks. It'll take you about 3 or 4 days. It's just to make sure it gets there safely, and then that's it. It's pretty easy work, it sounds like. Likelihood is you'll just be kind of guarding a few wagons and some...
It's never easy.
And the next?
Kind of gives Otis... Is he okay?
No.
Okay. Anyway, second I've got here, the Temple of Palor in Tannelheim have pulled together arms to pay for... It looks like... Oh no. That's horrible. Someone's gone missing. One of the acolytes has been... She was last seen in Lover's Alley. You know, being a Tannelheim native, that Lover's Alley is probably the most crime-riddled part of the city. Even worse than the Sprawl. which is the forecourt outside the actual walls itself.
Me being Astiel.
Yeah, you being SDL. So, yeah, it looks like the police have no manpower to hunt her down. So it looks like the temple is hiring out. Yeah, that's sad. The third one I have, the Van Ryn family from Bleakwater need help in securing their silver claim in the swamp. It appears that something happened and their men fled and won't go back into the mine until whatever's in there is taken care of.
I heard there are lizards there.
Oh, there are lizards that live in the swamp. There's a lot of things that live in the Mortmire. It's a very large swamp. It's a horrible place.
You should see lizards where I come from.
Big ones? The fourth one I have, it seems south of Tannelheim, Toppelhard Lumber have stopped getting weekly reports from one of their logging camps down there. They can't send anybody to investigate. I don't know why. They're a very profitable company with lots of manpower, hired guards. But sure, they're hiring us instead. They probably just don't want to waste time on it. Missing loggers. So it's entirely up to you. That's what I've got for right now. Missing persons and guard duty.
Astiel automatically does not want to do guard duty. And kind of gives a side glance to Celise at the mention of Temple of Palor.
Celise is tired of temples of Palor, especially the last corrupt one she came from. So,
She didn't say that out loud, did she?
Celise is just looking at the other three rather than that one.
Herrick kind of sits back and he's like, this is a pretty standard array of contracts. Feel free to take the day to talk amongst yourselves, decide what you want to take. I can put a hold on these for at least the day. But any longer than that, and I'm going to open them back up to the other divisions.
Okay.
Well, what do you guys think?
I don't want to do guard duty.
The Temple of Palor.
Can we go eat while we talk?
Yes.
Yes. Do I know this area?
Edgemont, you've been to Edgemont a few times, but you're not wholly familiar with the town.
Can we just go back to where there was breakfast?
Yes.
The only places you really think you could probably get a decent meal would either be here at the Muster, or down at the Hobbs Route, the tavern in the centre of town.
We'll just eat here.
Okay, yeah, you head back to the common room. Costs you like, copper piece each to get a plate of breakfast meats. I'll take that. Thank you. Oh, hell yeah. I've got Skittles all around. Yeah. More Skittles. I like these copper pieces. Fuck, what's the gold? What are you going to give me for gold?
How do I take this away from gold?
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Tell me.
Okay, I got you, fam.
I don't.
Because all you've got is gold pieces, right?
Yeah.
So, it is 100 copper to a gold piece.
And silver is...
Silver, so it's 10 coppers to a silver, it's 100 copper to a gold piece, and it's 1,000 copper to a platinum piece.
So, if I gave you a salad.
So if you hand over, they're pretty used to the mercenaries giving them gold to buy like breakfast with, so they have more than enough copper to give back to you.
Okay.
So paying for breakfast, you'd get like 98 copper pieces back each. So just remove one gold and then write in 98 copper pieces.
If it was only one, wouldn't I get back 99?
Did I say it was one copper piece? Okay, yeah, go ahead and put down 99.
Hey.
Just Skittles everywhere.
Taste the rainbow.
So yeah, you sit down, they bring out the plates of breakfast meats and whatnots for you. You see the half-orc woman that greeted you at the gates yesterday is there with the short, stout, squat dwarf. He's wearing like a white habit over his kind of leather armor. It's got an overflowing red chalice on it. Bald head, big bushy beard. He's just tucking it like these greasy chicken legs, and it's just all in his beard and down the front of his habit.
So, you do not want to do guard duty,
No.
and I am assuming you do not want to do temple.
No.
And Asiel kind of gives her like a little curious look.
So what does that leave us?
The swamp and the lumberyard.
I do not want to do the swamp. I do not like the water.
Well then, we'll go investigate the missing lumber.
If we do the... I do not have good feeling.
Do any of these give you a good feeling?
No, but that one particularly gives me a bad feeling.
I don't really think it'll be a problem for you.
What do you mean?
Asiel just kind of tucks into her breakfast a little bit.
Otis, what would you choose? Exactly. We are going to investigate
I
the
don't
lumberyard.
like the lumber people.
Then we can go to the swamp.
No.
Then we are going to the
Why
lumber.
can't we find the missing church person?
Or we could find the missing church person. Let's take a vote. The church or the lumber?
The lumber, they have... He said they have money. They have the resources. There are two options. They either know what is there and do not want to send people to go die of their own. Or, two, they are just lazy like he thinks. I think it is number one.
Lover's Alley is a pretty tough place.
It seems I've been outvoted then. We can go accept it after breakfast.
I'm not saying we cannot, but...
Shut up.
Are you
Eat
going
your
to protect me or not?
Asiel kind of chokes on her breakfast a little bit.
You'll be fine, Otis.
If you
Aren't
want
you
to...
always?
If you want to go to the lumberyard, then fine. You were not there when I fell in that hole that one time. I almost broke my neck.
Well, you have a flying dragon thing now, so
That is right.
you'll
Isn't
probably
no-
be fine.
It'd probably be best to get more familiar with Edgemont anyway. Visiting the Temple of Pelor shall...
Well, what do you think? You are from here.
I'm more inclined to help the Temple of Pelor, but I get a feeling that the
Just tell her so she knows why you don't
cleric
like
of
them.
Pelor is not really into Pelor so much.
It is not Pelor she is not into.
In the
But
south,
that is her story to tell.
they value gold and pretty things over everything else. I followed that temple for a long time. It wasn't what it seemed.
Your experience of the continent worship of Pelor is drastically different to Pelor's Landing, where you come from. Any devout member of a religion here truly seems to believe.
Which is why I'm a little confused about why she's off her game there.
From where we are from, things are very different than it seems here.
I'm starting to realize that. I haven't noticed anything off about the Temple of Pelor here. They seem pretty devout.
Maybe you can get your mojo back.
I'll take your word for it, and we'll visit and go to this lover's alley.
Why is it
We
called
should
that?
visit Copperdank first before we go.
Alright.
So why do you think they are all like, oh, you will know when it is him?
Maybe we'll know when we see him.
I cannot promise. I will not say something.
Can he stay outside? I don't.
I've tried. There, you get used to it.
He doesn't get us killed first. So we finish up breakfast.
Can we go see Copperdank?
Okay, tell me about Copperdank. I'm ready.
So as you finish breakfast and you get up, you inquire about the name Copperdank, and Suresh tells you that he is out in the supply yard. So you head outside, and there's that low, squat barn with its rolling door. Same group of small humanoids are outside. 3 of them seem to be doing something down in the snowdrift. The large brazier, the large low fire is still kind of crackling away. As you approach, you get closer, these small humanoids appear to be goblins. You can see low, squat brows, piercing red and purple eyes, jagged, crooked yellow smiles, a couple of gold and silver plated teeth, long, sweeping green ears that kind of droop back towards their shoulders. They're wearing an assortment of long, thick coats, fur scarves, fingerless gloves, little flat caps that kind of pull down on their head. One of them's wearing like an old battered helmet from a... It's way too big for him, it just kind of rattles around on his head. The 3 that are down on the ground seem to be playing some kind of dice. They'll just kind of stop talking, chattering amongst themselves, and they look up. One of them steps forward, and he's got this big kind of ruffled silk scarf around his neck. It's all frayed on the edges. He steps forward in his long, kind of dragging overcoat, lots of pockets, extra pockets sewn on the outside. He's like, "Hello, welcome. What can we get ya?" Seems to actively be blocking you getting into the supply yard.
Are you Copperdank?
"Yeah, I'm Copper," and you hear a couple of little sniggers. What can I do you fine folk for?"
Astiel just kind of steps forward.
"Well, fuck me, you're a big one, aren't you?" And they all kind of laugh, and they're cackling away to themselves.
Are you going to move?
"Oh, send shivers down my spine, lads." He takes his hat off. You can see he's completely bald on the top. There's this scraggly kind of grey hair, a couple of strands that go off to the right hand side, and he bows lightly so low his nose is like almost scraping a rivet in the snow beneath him, and he steps in a wide arc and opens up the door to you. He's like, "There you go, my lady." And they're all kind of just nudging each other and laughing and cackling.
The line of Astiel's jaw hardens and she just walks past him.
Sully shrugs and just follows, smiling. Otis.
I'm coming.
He kind of slaps his cap back on as he's looking at the 2 women that walk past. He kind of nudges you, gives you a wink. And they go back to kind of chatting with each other outside, chattering away in this weird kind of... It's a very fast tongue. There's lots of clicks and gnashing of the teeth. Entering into this like supply yard, it's really freaking cold in here. There's no fires inside. It's all pretty dim light. It's a little difficult to see. In there. It's lots of barrels, boxes, crates, trunks, chests, sacks, everything. A whole assortment of different items. And they all seem to be gridded and categorized. There's pulleys, winch systems, lots of goblins moving around. There's a few humans kind of helping move stuff. And there is very modest desk, little stool behind it, and what appears to be an elderly goblin, a large kind of fur cloak, sat there. Heavy, heavy, big leather-bound tome on the desk in front of him, little ink quill.
Looks like copper.
He's got no hair on the top of his head, very thick, bushy whiskers down the sides of his face, and they are bright ginger. And he just seems to be reading this tiny little novel that he's got cradled in his long, creepy, grey-green fingers.
Good morning.
He just trails his eyes slowly up to you. They're slightly bloodshot around the edges. Sorry, dear, you'll have to speak up.
Astiel does. Good morning.
Is it? Kind of looks past you. Oh, the sun's up. Feels I've been reading all night. How can I help?
What are you reading?
Snaps the book shut and just folds it into his robes. Nothing for young eyes. How can I help?
Just like 50 shades of like green.
Yes, he was reading 50 Shades of Green.
We heard that you are the master of items.
This is correct.
What sort of items do you have?
What are you looking for is the appropriate question.
Astiel kind of brings out her hands, which have the gauntlets.
Yeah.
Gauntlets on them.
Yeah.
Quite.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers. Just big iron-banded gauntlets. Sending thoughts and prayers. Pop, pop.
Do you have anything that I might use to upgrade these?
No. No. Are we talking magic? That is not my province. If you want that, you probably are going to have to see someone in the city proper. In the Sapphire Heights. Not quite sure you'll get in there. I certainly can't, but you can always try your luck. No, I can get you provisions, horses, other things.
There's a whole story with the horses from a different game. Anyway.
Yeah, in a different campaign, there's a price on players' heads because they fucked this guy over and stole horses from him. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was a thing, unfortunately.
First thing they did.
At least
No,
it wasn't a hog.
First thing.
He did, yeah, alright. Anyway, Copper's there. His teeth seem horribly sharp. Almost as if they've been filed into needle-like points. Everything about this guy is slightly off. He doesn't quite look you in the eye. He kind of looks past the side of your head when he talks to you. Never quite makes proper eye contact. When he talks, it's like his lips aren't quite as fast as his tongue. So every word is kind of drawn out. Seems like everything is done on his terms. But yes. Many provisions. If you're seeking weapons and armour, you might want to go see the blacksmith. Or, again, go to the city proper. Find Gerrick, the best defence. Yes. Here, I can get you everything else you'd ever need. Trail supplies, tents, sleeping equipment, pots, pans, cooking, some minor potions, a few other things that may or may not be in my books. If that's your kind of thing. If not, well then no, I can't get that for you. And you never heard that from me. If you ever tell anybody that I just said that, well, you won't be telling anybody I just said that. So yes, what can I help you with?
Do we need provisions?
We didn't use anything.
I have 10 days rations.
Should we get warmer clothes?
wouldn't be a bad idea.
How much for a warmer set of clothes?
Want some winter clothes? Going up in the mountains? 5 silver pieces.
Might as well have some.
And he picks up this little bell on the table. Ding. As Skittles get launched at me. And you hear the shuffling of rapidly approaching feet. Oh, okay. Oh. And this younger goblin, kind of round around the edges, very pudgy in the cheeks, a shock of blonde hair that just kind of falls in front of his face, and he's constantly pushing it up out of his face with his breath. Thick, heavy robes, tight waistcoat kind of pulled around them to keep everything in place. Yeah. Copper just sighs heavily. Go get some winter clothes. How many pairs do you need? Just one or 3?
One for me, one for him, one for her.
3 sets of the winter clothes. And he goes, oh yes, Roger. And turns, goes off. So it'd be 15 silver pieces in total.
Astiel hands over hers.
Celise pays the rest.
You see him put his abnormally long fingernails into a certain place in the leather tome that's in front of him and flip it open, and the way it slaps onto the tabletop, it rings and echoes throughout the entire building. He takes the ink quill, pushes to the very last page that's blank, flicks it over. You can see a few entries have been put into this ledger, and goes, name.
You need my name?
I need your name and your position within the guild.
I see German also.
Because I was swallowing my Skittle.
Astiel, Trapper.
SDL, Trapper, Division
5.
Division 5. Winter clothes, 5 gold pieces, and he writes down the date.
Silver.
Oh, yeah, 5 silver pieces. Yeah, there you go. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Name?
Celise, Trapper, 5th Division.
It's down. Name?
She paid for me.
There you are then. Celise. Kind of ledgers it in. Anything else?
No.
How much would a minor potion of healing be?
A minor potion of healing. So, those kind of things you absolutely wouldn't find in a place like this. You'd have to truck through a temple or one of the more finer establishments down in the city proper, and it absolutely wouldn't cost you 25 gold pieces a vial from an establishment like this. We don't carry that kind of thing.
And even though you do not carry it, how much healing would a potion like that potentially do?
Oh, that I've got no idea. I have no need for them.
How much do they really do?
Off record. OOC.
Hush, hush.
So, you're looking at 2d4 plus 2.
It is good to have at least one. It does cost a lot, but it could save one of us.
Having been around the temples, you have a fair understanding, the pair of you, not entirely of what the process entails, but you know that brewing these potions takes probably close to a month. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's not something quick that gets made. It's a lot of enchantment and arcane weaving, especially if it's a divine, a potion kind of siphoned from the divine magics. So the price, 25, it's not extortionate, but it's definitely comparable to what the temples would charge.
I'm more geared towards getting better fighty things. so I'm not interested.
Yeah, you'd probably, like you said, you'd probably have to go to the best defense in Tanelheim for that.
It's fine. I'll wait.
I mean, how many magic healing spells do you have?
Does he really need a healing spell? He's gonna need a piggyback right
Still get hurt.
I think it's just one. Pretty sure it's just bless and spare the
I mean, we're going to a temple, but what if they don't have any already?
It would be the same price.
So it doesn't matter. I mean,
Well, why would I pay for one?
what do you mean, why would you pay for one? You do not just get those free, do you?
Why don't you just buy one then notice?
I would like one of those if you knew where to get one. Set 25 gold pieces down.
He takes the gold with one hand, opens a drawer with another one. There is suddenly a small red vial in front of you on the desk. It is a couple of inches tall. The glass is kind of frosted and chipped in places. The liquid inside is a constantly swirling combination of silver and red. Never seems to stop moving. Even if you twist it and move it upside down, the liquid doesn't seem to follow the direction of gravity. It always stays in one singular place. The vial is filled. He doesn't mark this one down in the ledger. The small fat goblin comes shuffling up. These 3 stacks of like a brown cloth paper, almost. All 3 stacks of it kind of tied together with twine, and he drops them down on the desk. He's like, yeah. And he holds out a little green hand, big smile on his face.
I tip him a gold piece.
You put the gold in his hand, and he goes. You see, like, the hunger in his eyes, and he's like, "Thank you, sir. Thank you." And he closes his little green hand around it, and he kind of gives almost like this little malevolent glare into the back of Copperdank's head, and then he just goes, "Ooh, ooh," kind of catches himself and disappears back into the darkness, and Copper's just like, "That was generous."
Thank you for your time. I think we're ready to go.
So these grabs are stuff and it's on out.
I take my clothes too.
He doesn't say goodbye, he just pulls the small novel back out of his robes and continues to read.
What do you think he was reading? Otis asks after they leave.
I don't think it matters.
So you head out past the little group of goblins. They're still playing dice. They don't really seem to pay much of an attention to you. The one with the gold teeth and the cap kind of looks after the 3 of you, but doesn't engage like he did before. You can see 2 figures fighting in the training, like the training stud. They're just going at each other with wooden swords and padded armor. You can hear the clang of the blacksmiths off into the back corner. There's the stables, the high gates, and whatever it is you want to do.
Well, we want to accept that.
Yes.
That
We should go
Job.
tell her that we've decided.
Do we all have to go for that?
What do you want to do? Leave Engine alone. Yes, we all have to go.
Okay, so you head back towards Herrick's archive.
yes.
So
You guys are no fun.
you knock on the door. Herrick, come in. As you enter in, there's a couple of other clerks in the room, mostly human or half elf, and they're rifling through the papers. You see them pulling out ledgers, marking things off, closing and putting the ledgers back. And Herrick's there. So, we have a decision.
We'd like to choose the Temple of Palor job.
Okay. And he slides it forward.
Astion reaches out. takes. Is it a scroll?
Yeah, it's a scroll. It's like a small leather case that pops open on one side, and you can take the scroll out.
Is that what's going to say the price of the job?
Yeah, it has all the details on there.
So I take it.
How much do I get?
Yeah. She takes it, opens up the one side. Pulls out the scroll.
As you unfold the scroll and you look at it, there are two symbols kind of stamped onto the paper. There is the golden sun with the kind of like ambivalent face of Palor in the middle of it, and then there is a gold coin, which is the symbol for the Temple of Eustanis, which is the god of civilization. It seems to be a joint endeavour between both the Temple of Palor and the Temple of Eustanis to investigate for this acolyte who went missing, giving alms to the poor. Inquire at the Temple of Palor or the Temple of Eustanis for direction. Upon the return of the acolyte or information about her whereabouts, 50 gold pieces ahead.
That's a pretty hefty job. Okay.
How long do we have to...
There doesn't seem to be a time limit on it.
Okay.
It is one of those fancy open-ended ones.
And
Do you know the town?
It's in Tanheim.
okay.
Yeah,
I was
the
like-
contract is seated in the capital city. Yeah.
Yes,
Being a
yeah.
Tanheim native,
Okay, I know where the Temple of Baylor is. We should head that way.
Let's go then.
so yeah, you gather yourselves up, and how would you like to head towards Tanheim?
Well,
There is,
where?
yeah, you're in Edgemont in the north here. I'm showing them a map of the Tanal dukedom. You're up here in Edgemont. This is the muster here.
So we could either come down the actual path,
You honestly,
the road.
just from you knowing the area, the safest thing to do would probably come down through the foothills, through the high road, into the Bear Gate in the north of Tanelheim.
Right, but it's definitely the longer way.
Yes, but
From
we
the
are
north here,
fine with
it's
it.
pretty much the only way.
Okay.
All of this
'Cause that's
northern
not
quadrant towards the city is,
like mountains.
it's all small mountains and hillocks and
Alright, yeah, no, we're just gonna take the road.
Is there anything you would like to do in Edgemont before you head out? Are you going by foot, or are you going to go to the cab house near the tavern and rent a cart?
How
Do
many
we-
days is it?
It's about 2 days.
We could just walk.
I was gonna say, Astiel's not used to renting cabs. Things like that. She does things for herself, so I'm
Yeah.
just gonna walk.
Okay. So yeah, you hike up all of your adventuring gear. You've got your backpacks, your bedrolls attached to it. Refasten all of your cloaks and your armor straps. You make sure everything's good, and you set out from Edgemont. You come down through the tiered layers of the town, and the road curling down through into the Heartwood. It's very well tended. It appears the trappers do their job well. On the left-hand side of you stretches scrubland that heads down towards the coast, where you can see the massive expanse of the clear glass river just roaring past you. The fog-shrouded pines of the northern shore, where the timberbark frostland is. The frostbark timberland, I should say, is the squat fortress that sits on the other side of the river for Fort Andorf, the northernmost satellite of the crown. There is a huge wooden bridge on the side of the river that you are. There are 2 catapults and a large tower with the gate built into the base of it, and that is the entrance to the north side of the river. you know for a fact, even just being new in the area, Selisa notice, you know that there are no towns, cities north of the river. It is a completely untamed wildland. The only thing up there is a military presence. You begin to head down into the expanse of Heartwood. It is an ancient primordial forest. The trees are easily 15 to 20 feet thick. They rise high above you, 100 feet into the air. The canopy is thick and heavy. There are dust motes and fungus and small spores that kind of drift lazily in the sun shafts that penetrate down. There's a thick, loamy undergrowth. The smell of the forest is heavy. There are small insects that flutter by. There are small mushrooms that grow on pretty much everything that falls down to the base of the forest floor here. You can hear birds fluttering and whizzing past overhead. Every now and again there's the crack of a twig, fallen branch, crunching leaf litter as small animals move through the underbrush. The air is thick, but the smell isn't unpleasant. It's very loamy, very earthy, lots of herbs, rich earth tones. You continue on. Can you make a survival check for me? Just to see how easy the pace goes.
Yeah. I got a 2.
What did I get?
15.
You got a 4.
Okay.
What's your survival?
7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, for Selise and Astiel, the hardship of the previous day still kind of clinging on. So it slows the pace down quite drastically, especially on foot. Otis is chipper, well rested, and these two are trailing behind. So you're a bundle of energy. There's a little frustration, the fact that you're not going as quick as you'd like. They're not keeping up. The day is pretty uneventful. You pass a few travellers. There's 2 mounted patrolmen move past. That gold and black bear motif on their shields and their tabards. They kind of give you a nod as they trot past. They're obviously patrolling the road through the forest here in the north. You pass a farmer with a small wagon of goods, just kind of gives you a nod as you pass. Nothing else, not much foot traffic. And the sun begins to set high above the trees. All the sounds of nighttime start to crop up. All those fungus and mushrooms that you see almost begin to glow faintly. Soft blues and greens and purples, orange here and there, and as the sun sets, the wood takes on this otherworldly presence. It's almost like a different life starts to open up. Small insects begin to replace where the birds were buzzing by, and you hear with a large beetle as it comes across in front of you. Its carapace rainbow shimmering, reflecting all the colours of this bioluminescent fungus. You're beginning to get pretty tired, and you know that you'll probably have to strike camp at some point. Or you can continue pressing on through the night.
Not with those survival checks.
No. I think we'll set up a camp.
Okay. Do you do it on the road? There is a small clearing of about 15 feet on either side of where the underbrush has been kind of cleared. It's for people to pull carts over, things like that. Every now and again you see the remains of an old campfire there. It doesn't seem like people are too fond of stepping off the road to make camp in the woods. The Heartwood has that reputation. It's not necessarily bandits, although every now and again people of ill repute do flee into the woods. It's more that there are stories and legends that surround the wood. The wood's alive.
Well, we can't Otis. You should have no one keep watch.
What about Nolan sleeping?
No one can sleep on the walk there.
Hasn't Nolan been sleeping this whole time?
He's just hanging out.
Yeah, his weird winged snake thing is just ever present, curled around his shoulders, just watching everything.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Silently, the lazy, almost purple tongue just flicks out every now and again.
how wide is the road?
The road's about 40 feet wide. Like, it's a big track.
Okay.
It's easily big enough for 2 carts to pass each other.
So, knowing the area, I don't want to go into the woods. So, I'm going to kind of move things over to the edge of the road.
Okay.
Not quite going down into the woods, but just off the direct road. And I'll start building a fire.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and make another survival check for me, please.
All of us.
9.
9? Yeah, it takes you a little while to get going. Your hands are pretty sore from the pounding that you were giving the half-orc yesterday. But eventually you get a decent fire going. I mean, it's not the best you've ever done, but it's passable. You could probably cook some of your provisions on it. It's enough to keep you warm if you all kind of huddle close at night.
I'm gonna sit down I have a bedroll.
Yeah, you've all got like bedrolls and stuff like that.
Sit down a bedroll.
You don't have any like cloth tents or anything to keep the elements off you, but
Right.
that's something you'd have to buy.
Which we should have while we were there, I guess. So I'll set up my bedroll near the fire. After having gathered some wood from the very edge of the road, where the woods kind of meet the road.
Yep.
So we have wood through the night.
You find a decent amount of dried bracken that you can toss on the fire and keep it fed.
Celeste also lays her bedroll out.
Okay.
Otis looks down at Nolan. Will you keep watch while we sleep?
So it just flicks its tongue out and just silently uncoils from around you, slides down your leg and into the underbrush. Just disappears.
Not unsettling at all.
Make sure he wakes us if he finds trouble.
He always wakes me if he finds trouble. Do you not remember him bringing us that rabbit?
It made for a good stew.
Is there anything you'd like to do before you bed down for the night?
I would like to eat.
Okay, so yeah, you...
I'm gonna scout the area, just to see if there's anything unusual.
Okay, make an investigation check. Mark off one block of provisions from your backpack.
And what was it? What sort of a check is it?
An investigation check.
18.
Okay. As you're moving, how far around do you like circle a perimeter around where the campfire is?
So I circle a perimeter, but I don't go any farther than where those pullouts are, where the edges kind
Like
of been like
The 15 feet.
right, the 15 feet where it kind of stops being a place where you'd want to be and starts
Okay.
becoming more of the heartwood.
As
I
you
don't go into the heartwood.
Okay, as you kind of follow the very line of the trees where they've been pushed back, you can see old stumps that are kind of slowly creeping back forward towards the roadside. You can see that the undergrowth, the thick loam, always seems to be ever creeping back towards trying to cover over the roadside. You don't really see much. As you pass your eyes, the firelight begins to kind of catch behind you, and you do see 2 discs reflected in the undergrowth watching you from a while, like probably 30-ish feet in. And there is a small deer that's just kind of head low watching you. And as you make eye contact with him, he bolts and dashes off back into the wood. You can hear his hooves cracking into the small branches and undergrowth there, and then he disappears from sight and sound. Doesn't really seem to be much around. You can see small squirrels, insects just kind of chilling in the lower branches. Birds come and go, but not much.
Okay.
Not much
so
else.
there's prey animals that are around that don't seem to be spooked, so that's a good sign. Okay. Satisfied, I go back to the fire and start to eat some of my provisions as well.
Yeah,
I also eat.
yeah. Just mark off one set of your 10 provisions. And then is Nolan keeping watch the whole night while all 3 of you sleep? Okay, go ahead and make a perception check for me, using your stats.
19.
19?
21.
21? 21. You awaken to the dawn chorus. Birds tweeting and whistling overhead. The fire's kind of burned down low. Nolan didn't wake you at all during the night. You feel pretty well rested.
Okay. I'm gonna get up then. Start packing up the gear.
As you stand up and pull your sleeping kind of furs off of you, this fine layer of spores just into the air.
I sneeze.
Yeah, like there is a definite kind of tickling in the nasal passages in the mouth there. It seems just everything is subtly covered in this very thin layer of like yellowy grey sporing that just drifts lazily down from the canopy above.
I do a cat sneeze.
So Iris is just there fucking like 15 times in a row. Looks like he's spazzing out. He's gonna die. You pack up camp, continue on your way. Rest of the day.
Nolan sleeps while we go.
Yeah, Nolan's just kind of curled up around your shoulders. The rest of the day is as uneventful as the first day. You 2 guards on horseback pass you going the opposite way. One of them kind of leans back in the saddle, looking Otis up and down, and he kind of nudges his co-rider, and he kind of looks back, and they say something, but they're trailing past you too far to make out what they said. They just carry on riding. They don't seem to pay much attention after that. The road begins to twist and curve, gradually going downhill through the forest itself. And just in the distance there, you begin to see the trees start to open out. They become thinner. There's less of a press of the forest around you, and you can see rising high past the trees, as tall as the trees, these thick, heavy black stone towers and a wall. You can see small glints of light from armoured figures that walk across the top of this 100-foot tall wall. You can see ballista and catapults at various points along the wall, and coming down, the foot traffic begins to build. You can see there is a line of wagons and people on foot stood outside. There is a cluster of about 6 city guards that the 2 on horseback ride up to join. They get down off their horses, they exchange some words, and they head on into the city proper. It seems that this gate is being, everybody coming in and out of the city is being questioned or having their goods checked. The gate itself is this huge, beautifully carved bear's head. The stonework is this giant bear. The eyes, you can see, are carved windows, and there are guards with crossbows just looking out of the eyes. Set into the snarling open mouth, the top jaw, is the gates itself of the city, which are wide open. You come down. You join the chain of people standing outside. You wait your turn on entering the city. And that's where we're going to end the session.